Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to study another important chapter prescribed in your syllabus, The Little Girl, written by Katherine Mansfield. If we look at the title of the story, it refers to the main character, Kezia. And this chapter talks about the relationship between children and their parents. We know that children share a very important bond of love with their parents. Although when children are small, when they're young, they do not feel that their parents love them because their parents are strict and many actions of their parents seems unjustified. But as children grow up, they realize that all the acts done by their parents were beneficial for them. The parents are always concerned for the children, and there lies a heart full of love for the children. And this bond of love between parents and their children has been highlighted through this story. Do you feel you know your parents better now than when you were much younger? Perhaps you now understand the reasons for some of their actions that used to upset you earlier. You know, when we are very small, we do not know why our parents are being strict with us. But as we grow older, we become mature and we realize why they were being strict with us. And when we realize that thing, we also realize that our parents love us. So we all can relate with the story, right? So let's read the story of this little girl whose feelings for her father change from fear to understanding, and it will probably find an echo in every home. But before we study and understand the story, let's talk about the author. Katherine was born on 14 October 1888 at Wellington, New Zealand. She died on 9 January 1923 when she was just 34 in France. Her pen name is Katherine Mansfield and she belongs to New Zealand. Now let's talk about the learning objectives. If we look at this chapter will definitely help in promoting healthy relationship between parents and children. It will also make children realize that parents are their well-wishers. Their intentions can never be wrong. So they should understand this thing and should behave accordingly. Now, the story, The Little Girl. Now let's talk about the title of the story. As I shared, that it refers to the main character, Kezia. She's a little girl. We don't know the exact age of the girl because it's not mentioned in the story. But yes, she is a little girl. If we talk about the theme of the story, it's based on the relationship between children and their parents. And the writer wants to tell us that children share a very important bond of love with their parents. It's just can't be described in words. It's an emotional bond. Kezia was a little girl. She feared her father. She thought that her father was like a giant. He had big hands and a big neck. His mouth was also very big. She always avoided him. She thought that he was very cruel. Kezia's father worked in an office. He went to an office in the morning. Before going, he went to the little girl's room. He gave her a casual kiss. The father went to the office in a carriage. And she felt very happy when the father had gone. She enjoyed after that, always. Because she was never comfortable with her father. In the evening, the little girl's father came back. He spoke loudly in the house. Kezia feared her father's loud voice like anything. Her mother would ask her to go and take off his shoes. And when she entered his room, he looked at her sternly. Kezia thought that her father was a hard-hearted person. She always feared her father. She was never comfortable with him. One day, Kezia made a pincushion. She wanted to present it to her father on his birthday. And she was quite excited about it. She needed paper to stuff the pincushions. She found some sheets of paper in her father's room. She tore the sheets to stuff the pincushion. And her father had written an important speech on them. He was very angry with her. And you know what he did? When he came to know about all this, he took a stick and beat her severely. He told her not to touch anything that did not belong to her. Kezia wept bitterly. She wondered why God had made fathers. Now she trembled even at the sight of her father, because she was beaten by him severely, and she was afraid like anything. One day, Kezia saw her neighbor, Mr. MacDonald. He was fun-loving and was playing with his children. Not like her father. They all looked very happy. Children enjoyed their father's company. But Kezia's father never played with her. Now she thought that there were different kind of fathers in the world. That is what she realized that day when she saw MacDonald playing with his children. Her own father was very cruel, hard-hearted, who never opened up. After a few days, Kezia's mother became ill. Her grandmother took her to hospital. Kezia was alone in the house with the nurse. And that night she had to sleep alone in her bedroom. She was quite scared. And at night she had a horrible dream. She saw that there was a butcher with a knife. She was terrified. and she gave a loud cry. And when she cried, her father came into her room to know what had happened. He lifted her and took her to his own bed, and she lay beside her father. He was tired and fell asleep before her. She was lost in thoughts. She thought that he had to work hard every day. He came in the evening. Then he was too tired to play with her. She thought that it was her fault to tear those important papers. She realized that her father was not bad, and he had a big and loving heart. With this, the story comes to an end. I hope you all understood the story well, and you realize the importance of parents in life. And sometimes you need to have that patience. You need to know your parents well, right? Now let's summarize the chapter. The story is about a little girl whose feelings for her father changed from fear to understanding. The little girl Kezia was afraid of her father. To the little girl, he was a figure to be feared and avoided. She always stuttered when she spoke to him. On Sunday afternoon, Kezia's grandmother sent her to talk to her parents, but they were always busy. Kezia decided to present a pincushion to her father on his birthday. She stuffed the cushion with sheets of fine paper which were very important to her father. On knowing the truth, he got very angry and punished her. One day, Kezia saw her neighbor, Mr. MacDonald, playing with his children. She then decided that there were different types of fathers. One day, her mother got ill and she got hospitalized. Kezia was all alone at home. Alice, the cook, put her into the bed and she got a horrible nightmare and started screaming. Her father came and took her to his bed and she lay down close to him. He was too tired and slept before her. Then she realized that every day her father had to work hard and was too tired. She understands the reasons for his bad behavior. He seems to have no time but has got a big heart. Wow. That's a great learning, right? For a child like Kezia. Now let's look at the new words. Stutter means to talk with continued involuntary repetition of sounds. Yawn means involuntary open one's mouth wide and inhale deeply due to tiredness or boredom. Wretched, in a very unhappy or unfortunate state. Wrapped means cover or enclose in paper or soft material. Clung means stuck. Sob, when someone's cry noisily, making loud gasps. Frightening means cause to feel extreme fear. Slip means lose one's footing and slide unintentionally for a short distance. Butcher is a person who cuts and sells meat. Nightmare means a terrible dream, and scream is cry in fear. Now let's look at the theme of the story, The Little Girl. This story is based on a young child's point of view about her father. Children take time to understand the actions of their elders. Till then, they tend to develop a negative opinion and sometimes even distrust. So that was all for the story The Little Girl, written by Catherine Mansfield. I hope you all understood the story well. Read the text, mark all the doubts, and clear it whenever you feel like. Thank you so much for listening.